Hey, it's Friday, everyone, and it's the last one of the summer before the kids go back to school, so we packed this bucket full of super seasonal fun blooms. We are back with some DIY inspiration, so let's look and see what we have in our bucket this week. So this week we did some awesome kale. This is, or brassica ornamental kale. We have some dahlias. We have these cool sort of hybrid garden roses called Tip Top. We have these awesome little spray roses here, and these are Bridal Jewel spray roses. And we've got some cute little Gomphrena hanging out in here, or Globe Amaranth. We have some Lisianthus in a really pretty dark purple color. Well, I guess we would call this mauve or dark pink. We have some chocolate lace. And we also have some Scabiosa. So super seasonal, kind of peachy stone fruit colors going on. Perfect way to end up the summer, and these nice cooler nights coming in. It's a great palette. And then some greenery as well. So I was kind of inspired to do something centerpiece style. We haven't done that in a minute. So I'm gonna use my chicken wire ball. So this one's already fit to a container this size. If you open it up, you'll see that the chicken wire ball is about, I don't know, like 7 by 7 typically. And you just wad it together on the sides, fold the edges over each other so that it creates a little round ball, almost like burrito style. And then we go right into our container. So one of the things with containers like this, where the bottom sort of tapers and it wants to push the chicken wire out, I like to run a little tape grid over the top of that as well. You want to be just a couple pieces. You don't want to be a lot because you don't want to have to cover it, you know? And you don't want to see your mechanics. So I try to keep it pretty light, but something just to keep your ball in place. There you go. If you have clear tape and you want to go around the outside, you can certainly do that as well. Or if you have clear tape and you want to do a more aggressive grid on there, that helps also. But the chicken wire is pretty good. It's well fit to this size container. All right, so let's start with what I did not mention, some of these cute little petite autumn hydrangea. These are the green kind. So I'm gonna cut that on an angle as always. We're gonna trim off these little knobs, and we are going to place that into our container at a slight angle so that the bloom comes over the edge of our container. Here we go, and we have another one in there. Same deal. I'm gonna do this on the other side. I'm gonna tuck it right into the back so you can see that it covers. There's still a lot of space in here, and that's fine. We're gonna use greenery there. The whole idea is not to completely cover the hydrangea. We wanna see it coming out on both sides. So I'm gonna start with our salal, or lemon leaf. It's sort of like a one of our foundational greens, goes with everything, nice and long lasting. I'm gonna tuck these in between the hydrangea, into my chicken wire. There we go. I'm gonna go in sort of a little bit more horizontally because my goal is to start crisscrossing the stems underneath so that hopefully I can keep building more of a foundation for the rest of my flowers. You can go through the hydrangea a little bit as well. Just start sectioning out those individual spaces in your chicken wire a little bit smaller, and then that way when we go to put our other flowers in, they'll have a nice landing spot to snuggle into. Tuck that one in that way. There we go. And so some people like to use all of their sort of like foundational greenery early. Some people like to hold on to some for the end. Since the hydrangea are pretty teeny weeny in this bucket, I'm gonna go ahead and use most of it now, so that way I have a nice nest forming underneath here for the rest of my flowers. Oops, one more piece in here. Oh, 2 more pieces. Like 4 pieces in each. Tuck that in between my hydrangea and get the greens kind of even all the way around. My end goal is gonna have something maybe a little bit more spilly looking, kind of lush and layered blooms. All right, so then I'm gonna put my spray roses in because I like how these are kind of also forming a grid with their laterals like the hydrangeas. So that'll help break this down into smaller pieces as well. So you really don't have to overly clean them, just take any petals off the outside that may not look so great. And I'm gonna tuck that right on in see it like that. And then I have this long piece off to the side. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that. I'm gonna give it a little blow if you want, just to get it moving. You should have 3 of these in your bucket. There we go. And this guy I'm gonna pull off and use separately since it's kind of in the way. So 1, 2, and 3. In the middle a little bit. This guy over. All right, so oops, we can see them all the way around in our arrangement. Keep tucking these greens back in, so kind of want to fall out there. There we go. All right, and then the next thing I'm going to use is the kale. I'm going to put that in early just because it has this gigantic knobby stem. So I usually take like 2 or 3 of the leaves off the bottom, so it forms more of like a tight bloom and not, you know, like a lot of stuff going all the way down. And then I cut it. It's kind of like the length that I want it to be. And you're gonna come in with your clippers or your scissors and just kind of clean up that stem as much as you can. Figuring that moving forward in your arrangement, if you try to move it or take it out of the chicken wire, you don't want it to pull everything out. So we're gonna clean that up like so. Then you can sort of manually open, like almost like reflexing petals on a rose. If you want, you don't have to do this, but I feel like it gives it a little bit more interest and look. So I fold these back like halfway, right in the middle. And it starts to make a nice rose shape with your kale, right? And there we go, all right. And you can still take a couple more of those base petals off as well, base leaves off, if you feel like it's going down too far. But once you got it like this, then it's like nice and open and you have this nice focal point. That's what you want. So I left these spaces a little bit more open over here, so that's where these are gonna go. And these are gonna act kind of like a green and a flower. Tuck that right in here. Here, I'll move this because this piece of greenery is, I feel like, too close to it. It's making it look busy. Tuck that over here. All right, and then we're gonna do our other one. Again, I'm gonna cut it to the length that I want and get that stem as clean as I can. Take off these outside petals so I get it to a more manageable top, and then start turning them back. 1, 2, 3. Big snap or bend a little bit. It's not a big deal. It's not meant to be perfect exactly. Notice maybe the leaves are already a little broken anyway. That's just how that goes. All right, and then here we have a really cool kale rosette. All right, so I'm going to turn this. I'm going to do this on the other side across from my original kale here. Once again, double checking my work. I did not clean this stem very well, so I'm going to go back and clean that. And then we're going to go right in here, and I'm going to move this guy because I don't want that in the way. I'm going to find a spot in. Place it in. Simple. You don't want redundancy, right? So if there's something green and leafy, you don't need to have more green and leafy all around it. Let it sort of have its space. If that means taking some of the greens out, moving them around, go for it. You know, you just keep moving stuff. That's why we keep our stems clean, so that we can move these things around easily and adjust as we go. It's part of the fun. It's a little bit difficult with these thicker stems. Put them in there. There we go. All right. All right, so I got 2 cool kale leaves coming out. We've got our greenery focused around to the sides now. We've got green all the way around. Very cool. Okay, next up, we're gonna go in with our roses this week. It's a cool like garden hybrid variety. It's called Tip Top. It's kind of a peachy, almost like a Juliet, not quite. I'm just gonna give it a little blow. Now these are a little bit sort of, I don't know what you would call this shape. They're sort of like shaped like a ball. So I'm gonna go ahead and reflex these petals to get a little bit more drama out of it. Just so they look a little bit more big. The ruffling in the petals is gorgeous. They just don't take up very much space in the arrangement. So I'll go ahead and add these guys. And after the petals are pulled back slightly, there we go. Yeah, start making it a little bit more interesting. And what's great about reflexing the petals too is that then you can have it come out from your arrangement a little bit and it looks it looks cool from the side, you know, you get all of this pretty like ruffly petaling on the side as well. So I'm gonna take my snips and get rid of any of these thorns, knobs, and then I'm gonna go right on in here. Yep, and then, all right. And I'm just gonna let it float. I want this to kind of come out, let it be flowy. Got 3 of these in the bucket. I'm leaving my stems long to start because you can certainly cut more off. You can't add it back. So this way I can also place them into my arrangement and get a little bit more shape and size, which is kind of fun. I'm using like a smaller compote vessel, so the more shape and layering I can get out of the flowers, the better. Okay. All right. So pretty. Okay. So this guy, we're dealing with 2s and 3s here, so it gets kind of funny. I'm gonna do this guy coming out this way. So on either side of my kale. Kind of twist that gently, let's get in there. 1, 2. And I have another one coming out this way. So it's kind of in a triangle. Oh my gosh, I forgot one of my, this guy was hiding. Whoops, I'm gonna go ahead and tuck this in. How did I forget you? I wonder here, this guy needs a little bit of, there we go. A little bit of fill. There we go. All right, can't believe I forgot that guy. They're so little. All right, so this one, my last tip top rose, giving it a little blow. I'm not rolling it because the petals are pretty delicate and I don't want them to fly off, which they tend to do. Got to know your roses. Some of them can stand up to the reflexing nicely, some can't. Some get spun and they open up really nicely, some don't. So these guys have pretty soft fabricy petals. So you spin them and you might lose some of them. But if you reflex them, they actually reflex pretty nicely without breaking. And that's what you want. Give that a little blow and then this guy's gonna come out this way. All right, so now we have kind of like a little triangular situation going on with our roses. They're layering in more or less on top of our spray roses. I can actually pull this one out and put it back in again a little bit higher so that you can still see that spray rose behind it. I don't want to cover anyone, right? So the spray rose is kind of moving a little bit to the middle as I move these guys in. All right, and next we have, oops, jeez, let's break it up. I have 2 of these Lisianthus. So the Lisianthus are going to be on stems like this. So you have to decide how you want to split it up to get as much bang for your buck. You could trim it here and use it in the oasis, or I'm sorry, in the water, and then use this as one long piece, or you can break them into 2 smaller pieces if the laterals are long enough to go into the water. You just need to make sure that they get into the water is the most important part. And then you can blow on them individually just to get them open a little bit. And if you want to edit off any of these little buds, you can take a couple of them off. I like to leave some of them on. I think they look really pretty and kind of delicate in the arrangement, so I don't want to take too much off. I'm gonna go ahead and add this in here. Oops, this guy wants to pull out. There we go. There we go. There. All right, okay. And I have this other little piece here, so ooh, just blowing that. They always have so much pollen in them. I'm gonna tuck one down in the center here, just get that color going all the way through my arrangement. This one is like crazy. It's got like a ton on it, so I'm gonna break that down into smaller pieces. Again, making sure all of them are long enough that they're gonna be able to touch the water. Leaving a couple especially long so they can stick out from your arrangement and give a little bit more shape, size, especially in comparison to the more petite vessel. Okay, this guy over here. Always making sure that they're going into the vase and not sideways. I miss my vases a lot, actually. So always gotta double check. I'm gonna tuck this one. Let's see here. Oh, be over here a little bit. Put in a little bit more. There we go. All right, so now we can see that all the way around. I'm gonna adjust this guy up a little bit. Whoops. Go that way. All about the layering. It's like you don't want too many things to be at the same level. So if you end up with 2 things that are right next to each other, you probably want to rethink where that stem is going to be so that you get it nicely layered throughout your arrangement. There we go. Oh my gosh, I've been around like 800 times. but sometimes that's what it takes to get it where you want it. So be vigilant, you will get the result that you want. All right. Oops. There we go. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I think the compo is difficult too, because like you're thinking about how far it is off of the container and you're not thinking about the fact that it's much shorter because of the foot on it. So, but still cut long, and then you can always take it out, take some of the stem length off, but you just definitely don't want to take it too short from the beginning. All right, so next we have our chocolate lace. Here we go. Well, next I guess I'll do all the dahlias. The dahlias are so pretty. I always try to do the dahlias as close to last as possible because I don't want to break them. They're so finicky sometimes, just like mums. You hit them in the wrong place and their petals crash out. But I try to be delicate because I only really have the Scabiosa after that. So there's two of these, so I'm gonna kind of put them into they have their little like faces facing out from the center of the arrangement. It's the other one. I love how different they are. Like this one's got so much more lavender to it, but they're all in the same batch. Just so fun. Okay, I'm gonna leave some of these little buds on. None of them have any buds on the side that I can use, unfortunately, but normally if they had any buds on the side that were a good size, I would use those in the arrangement as well, but alas. Okay, so we have these guys here. So I'm gonna move this over a little. Ah, yes. All right, so we're kind of starting to even out here. All right. And then we've got our chocolate lace. This is going to be like a nice long clean stem, so it's gonna kind of come out from the arrangement. This is gonna give you movement. What I like to do is sort of look at the underside and pull up any of the ones that are either making it too big or maybe like too asymmetrical, depending on the look that you want, you know, so it's a little bit tighter. You know, if I have like a little guy sticking out too far there, I'll just pull that off so it's a little bit of a tighter bloom overall. And I'm gonna put this out here, float it right in front of my cabbage. I got 3 of these, so I'm gonna do some of them a little long. Oh no, I think I need to come here. And I need to bring another one over here, I think. Oops. There it is. And then this one here, this is all pretty good. Just like 1 or 2 of these need to come off. So let's scoot that over. There we go. And then you just have this really cool movement. I mean, these guys just like float. So then when you spin your arrangements around, when a breeze hits it, they just get that nice sort of jiggle going with all the long, fun stems. So yeah, I definitely want to leave those where they can really stand out. Same thing with our Scabiosa. We want to maybe tuck one in a little bit just to get the color down in there. But then the other ones, you have 3 of them in your bucket, so use them maybe on the longer side so that you can really see all that movement again. Look at that. Oh, sorry, there's 4 in here. Cool. All right. Here we go. So turning it, I'm seeing how, you know, maybe like not designing as radially as I'd like. So some of these are coming out from the back and going towards the front. So I'm just adjusting as I go and putting the stems so they're kind of going more in the right direction. I don't want them to like come out here and go that way, right? So I want them to be a little bit more radial from the center. Maybe this guy wants to come out a little bit this way, just to be a little different. Maybe let's do some more to this one over here. Okay, and then we have these cool little Gomphrena. I love them. They're like one of my favorite summer blooms. I always have them in the garden. They have a bunch of different colors too, which is nice. This guy. And these also have this nice shape and movement, so go ahead and use them long. Let them kind of do an organic thing in your arrangement. Maybe some of them want to come up this way, maybe they want to crash out to the outside, but just make sure they are bringing a little bit of fun to the arrangement without looking too much like a deep sea angler. Like I feel like maybe we don't want them to be too crisscrossy going over other blooms. There we go. All right. one just wants to be a little shorter. I can't make it work where, there we go. And just nice and long. Bring this guy up this way just to be fun. So we can keep it there. It's always tough with these, they want to like move around, but once it gets to like where it's going to be, then you can make your final adjustments for where you want everything to go and then not worry about it moving. So really you're just kind of like calculating right now where you want those placements to eventually be, and then when you get it to your dining room table or your coffee table or wherever it is that's going to be displayed, then you can move them around and know that they're not going to keep moving all around in your arrangement. There we go. That's up there. And then lastly, in our bucket we have Plumbosa, which is just like one of my favorite greens to use, especially in compote work or centerpiece work, because it's just so delicate and soft. It is kind of a pain in the butt. If you look at it here, you can see every place where one of these greens comes out, there's a little thorn. So be very careful when removing it from the bucket. You just want to trim those thorns off with your scissors, and you pop them right in to your arrangement. I like to use them around the bottom so you get that nice fluffy cascade. And you can use it too if you want to use like a top piece and then hang on to this bottom piece for some fill. You can certainly do that as well. Just make sure that you're cleaning those stems enough to go all the way up so that they're going into the water. You just want to make sure that you don't cut them too short, because these will shed if you don't get them in the water. You do not want that. Okay, so you have 4 pieces of this. I'm gonna try to do 2 layered on top of each other over there. I have a little piece over here. So now I need something around this side, I think. So I'm gonna take this, and this is a crazy piece too. Again, just kind of figure out like how long you need the pieces to be and try to get as much bang for your buck. I'm gonna take that one piece off because it's gonna be long enough to use on its own, and then I'll use the base elsewhere in the arrangement. Oops, make sure that looks finished. Piece here and lay that on top. That's the other nice thing about Plumbosa when you're working with it. It really does look pretty when you have it layering, like almost how it looks on the plant, how it kind of grows up and then out, and then it has that nice delicate cascade. So if you can achieve that in your arrangement by being able to put a shorter piece on top of a longer piece, definitely go for it, because that's going to give you a really nice full look in your arrangement. I just took one of these guys out because there were too many of them all next to each other and it was bugging me. So I'm going to move this guy over here because there wasn't anything tucked in over here. All right. This guy be a little shorter. And this guy be a little bit cooler in shape. I like that. Okay. Here we go. Give it a little spin. So if you got our bucket this week and you made something cool with it with one of your own containers, definitely share the pictures with us. We'd love to see it. If you have more ideas for designs that you would like to see or types of flowers you'd like to see, please drop it in the comments. Certainly follow along for some more design inspiration. We are getting ready to get into some really fun fall colors and textures and flowers, so you definitely want to follow along for that. Plenty of seasonal things, but also some inspiration for different ways to use the flowers. We hadn't done one that was a little bit more spilly and long, so I wanted to try this out in this smaller bowl and show the mechanics for it. So if there's something, especially if there's something with mechanics you would like to try, or if you have a bowl of a certain size or a certain depth that is difficult to design in, you have questions about how to design it, certainly shoot us a line. We'd love to answer it. We love to work with you. We love designing with you guys. So until next week, please, everyone with the kids going back to school or just sitting in the traffic for the kids going back to school, I hope you keep your sanity. I hope you find some quiet time for some design, and we will see you next week.